Sick with the slang, sick and I'm destined for fame. Do for the fam, not for the gram. Stunting, you're destined for pain. I do not front, I do not scam. Put some respect on my name. Sick like Cobain, click and I bang. Y'all gon' remember the name. Y'all gon' remember the name.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the podcast. You're back with another episode of Real Talk with Zuby, with your host, of course, myself, Zuby. Today we've got on Joy Villa, who is a singer, songwriter, and an all-around awesome and outspoken individual. Welcome to the show, Joy. How you doing?
Hi, Zuby. It's great to be here. I'm doing awesome.
So you've made a little bit of noise at the Grammys before. I think the very first time I heard you and saw a picture of you was a dress you wore at the Grammys in, was it 2016?
Probably. I mean, it depends on what dress you saw.
I saw the Make America Great Again dress, so I'm presuming it's 2016.
2017, actually.
Oh, 17. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have fans. I lovingly call my Joy Tribe, but I have my fans that follow everything I do, and they buy my shirts on my website, joyvilla.com. They like my pictures. They will go on my live streams, and they will correct me when I say, I mean, I'm very aware of what year it was, but they'll be like, Joy, you wore the dress in 2016. And that's a common misconception because Trump was running in 2016. So as a conservative, I came out in support of the president. But I voted for him in 2016, of course, but he was elected. And then the Grammys was just 2 months later, February 2017. So most people think it was during the election time. And I mean, I usually don't correct them, but if they try to correct me, I'm just like, okay, it's fine. that was actually the 2017 Grammys. So the Grammys actually sort of kicks off the full year. So okay. It was the beginning of 2017. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, before we jump, we can definitely talk some politics later. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about you, what it is that you do, and your background. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about you?
Sure. So I'm a singer-songwriter. My name is Joy Villa. I hit #1 on iTunes, Amazon, and #1 on the Billboard charts in 2017, following my appearance at the Grammys on the red carpet in a Make America Great Again Trump dress that I had specially designed for me. And I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I've toured 25 countries. I have toured all around the U.S. I'm originally from Los Angeles and New York. And I love making music. I love making music with a purpose. You know, I've hit #1 on Amazon. I mean, I'm #1 on the alternative and the rock charts on Billboard, which is a huge accomplishment for me. One of my personal favorites, what I really want to do.
Well, congratulations on those successes. That's awesome.
Thank you.
How did you first get into music?
I first got into music when I was, I would say, 5 years old. And I was in a play, a Christmas play in my kindergarten, and which was in Orange County, California, Laguna Beach area, which I was at for the first 5 years of my life. And I went to this private Christian school, Maranatha Christian Academy. And we did a Christmas play, and I played Christmas Angel, and I was singing and dancing and had a whole routine for it. And had a really cool costume that my mom made for me that I was a bit of a diva. I kind of forced her to make it look right. I told her, make it look really nice. And she had it had this iridescent wrap around it, some fabric we got. And I told her how to tie it. I mean, I really ran my mom creating this outfit. I was like, this is my time. And somehow I realized how important it was to look right when you're on stage at 5 years old. I don't know. I was exposed to a lot of films and movies and old-fashioned films. You know, I grew up watching a lot of black and white films. My parents exposed me to a lot of Diana Ross and divas, but no one in my family was like that. You know, my mom was a gospel singer and a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled us. My dad was a minister and a salesman who had his own successful fundraising business. You know, it was just kind of like this thing that I had as a kid. And I didn't demand an agent at that time, but pretty close to it. And that was my first entree into singing and theater. And I didn't stop doing theater. Most of my life, I did musical theater, and that's where I got my background in being a performer. And I trained myself from being a shy kid. I was very shy. I was an artistic kid who drew and painted. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I was a painter at 8 years old. I still paint to this day. I'm a really good drawer, as the kids at school would say. And yeah, I love art. But it wasn't until I started getting into theater classes, theater groups, acting classes. My parents were incredible. They put me in acting classes at 10 years old because I asked for them, and they just supported me 100%. It wasn't until then that I really started, probably when I was around 16 years old, that I came out of my shell from all the classes. You know, it was more like, okay, so I can be big on stage and in real life. And now no one would ever call me shy. No one would ever call. People are always surprised, like, you used to be shy. I'm the opposite of shy now. But I trained myself to do that.
That sounds very similar to me in a lot of ways. I mean, down to the drawing. When I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a cartoonist.
Oh,
So yeah, I used to just draw like crazy, like all through my
wow.
childhood. I can still draw,
Yeah.
but I don't do it so much now. And funnily enough, when I was
Yeah.
a kid, I didn't like music either.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
I started rapping when I was 18, when I was in university. So
Wow.
yeah, it's like I started getting into hip hop at like 12 or 13, just as a fan, just listening to stuff and started loving it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't start rapping myself until university. So that's interesting because I think there are a lot of parallels there. And as a kid as well, I'm someone who was a little bit shy and self-conscious, but I'm now known for being quite the opposite, for being quite outspoken, fairly
Mhm.
extroverted, and I'm one of those people who has like zero fear of strangers, so
Wow.
I can talk to anyone. Like if someone's like, yeah, I'll talk to anybody. Like I don't
That's
care.
awesome. Isn't it fun though to be that way? I think it is a skill that it's a communication skill that people really need to know and master
Mm.
because as performers, we're forced to master that. It's a make or break you as a performer. I don't believe in being an artistic, legacy, but behind the scenes, you're just this quiet person in the corner. I've heard stories of people doing that,
Mm.
but for me, it's all about networking, right? It's all about connecting. Either it's with your fans or with the next person who could help you achieve your next great step in your career. So you have to be able to communicate and go up to people and approach them and fail sometimes,
Oh
fall
yeah.
flat on your face and just get back up and keep going.
Yeah. I think
Do you
especially as
find that?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. Like I've traveled all over the UK.
Wow.
Literally, I've been to every city, every town, promoting my
Mm,
music, selling my CDs, passing out flyers, running pop-up
wow.
shops, whatever it is I might be doing. I think
Yeah.
especially as an independent artist, because you don't have a huge label or
Hmm.
necessarily like a big PR company or something who's going to be doing some of that stuff for you. It's like
That's right.
you've got to get out there, you got to shake people's hands, you got to talk to people, and
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, I think it's about authenticity. I mean, I guess if you're someone who is naturally very introverted and isn't super social, then I guess you don't want to force that, and forcing that is not authentic. But if you are someone who is outspoken or extroverted or confident,
Hmm.
then let that shine. Not everybody will like it. Not everybody will agree with everything you say or everything you do, but people will see that you are authentic.
I mean, of course, I would never ask somebody to go against their own integrity.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? You look amazing. I love you. I love you, babe. Let's do lunch. That's LA.com all over. I don't say be fake like that, but you do have to put on a different persona as a performer or as a business person or as anybody to get in and break it into the world. And that's just fake it till you make it. That's just you times 10. You at your best, you when you're most comfortable, you when you're happiest. Envision that, put that face on, and go out to parties as that version of you
Mm.
and just drill it, practice it. It's like a sport. Like shooting hoops doesn't always come natural to people. Learning those steps, learning what each athlete has to do, lifting those weights and learning those moves, ballet dancers, like that stuff is not just natural to most of them. They may be athletic, but they're going to have to drill, practice, practice, practice to be that perfect, to execute that seamlessly and make you think that it is a natural talent. I mean, talent does come into play, but I do believe any shy person, any introverted person, if they tell themselves, oh, I'm just antisocial, I can't get out there, I think they're lying to themselves. I
Oh
think
yeah, yeah.
society, I think you can get out there. If you want it bad enough, you're going to have to. That's my viewpoint because I trained myself
Mm,
to go from being shy to being extremely outspoken and out there. And that's also giving myself permission to be that person and not listen to what other people tell me I should be.
sure. I think that's like the way you've described it. I mean, and for myself as well. I mean, I used to be a shy kid. I used to, kind of sit there and play my video games and do my drawing and whatever. I wasn't like
Yeah.
antisocial, but if it were when it came to strangers or people I didn't know well, I wasn't particularly keen to have like some super long conversation or something like that. So that's
Mhm,
also something
mhm.
that I've naturally honed myself, and some of it did just come with the territory of being when I started doing my music and was promoting my music independently and stuff. It was like, look, well, no one else
Yeah,
do this. I need to go out there. I need to put myself out there. And
right.
yeah, over some time, I think it's more like I guess people have a different capacity for it. So someone who's naturally leans more that way all the time, just be like that because that's how they are. And then
Mm,
other people, it's a bit more like putting it on at certain times when there's an opportunity or you're in a certain situation or whatever.
yeah.
But I think for some people, for some people it's tiring. For other people, it's energizing. That's probably the
It's
best way to put
it's true. That's true that there are different types of people that some people it is tiring for them to be social and it is more energizing for other people to be social. I'll tell you, depending on the day, my husband will tell you, I get tired out as hell being a social person. It can exhaust me. And then I go, maybe I'm one of those people that's actually an introvert. And I look and I say, oh, is that really what I am? And I'll look up all this psychology mumble jumble, trying to find myself. And I go, I'm just me.
it. Yeah.
And I think knowing yourself to a certain extent is important. Personality quizzes and tests and those things can help you absolutely.
Mm.
But taking chances and being yourself is the best way to know yourself. Going out there. And I can tell you from my personal experience, I was a shy, introverted kid that wanted to draw, just like you said, drawing. I wanted to be an illustrator and I write. So I was like just me at home, and I played video games as well. I was like this little nerd. And that's still me. That's still a part of me. There's nothing I like better than just kicking back with my socks, my cat, my laptop, a hot cup of tea, the fireplace on, and my husband just, he's a nerd, he's a photographer. So both of us
Hmm.
are existing in each other's space, maybe not saying anything, but just being there. And I read a lot of books
Yeah.
and I do a lot of things that are just me and myself. I don't mind being alone. But on the flip side, I go out there and I do massive amounts of handshaking and speaking and getting out there and being a big personality. And for me, that is something that energizes me to talk to others. Like when I do interviews like this, like I have 3 more interviews back to back to back. This energizes me to an extent, but if
Yeah.
I don't have my alone time, if I don't have my creative time, me and my notes app just writing songs or listening to music or watching something on Netflix, if I don't have that, then I will be permanently drained.
I get
So
you.
I think there is a balance, and I think it's each individual has their own balance. I think even the most outgoing person, I've yet to meet an outgoing people person who has no alone time. I think
No.
we all need alone time. I
Yeah.
think
No.
it depends on how much, but I think even people who lie to themselves and say, "Oh no, I'm an extreme extrovert," I think they're just wearing themselves thin. I don't know. For me, I've never met a true
Yeah.
extrovert.
Well.
All the extroverts I know who are successful, very successful in life, in
Yeah.
business, finance, in arts, have forced themselves to be that way. That's my personal
Yeah.
philosophy. I think it's a trained skill that anybody, like reading, like riding a bike, that anybody can have. Yes, it may come more natural to some, like athleticism, like singing talents, rapping, doing things, writing. We have a choice. We don't have to be happy with just what we were born with. We can actually achieve more than what we were born with. And I think we actually owe it to ourselves as creative individuals to achieve more than what we were given. I think that's part of the
Yeah.
game of life. That's part of the fun. If you were born shy, it's super introverted, and the mere thought of going outside scares you, then good. Start by going 2 feet outside your door every day. Desensitize yourself. Go against the grain. Don't listen to what people say. Oh, you just need medication and you stay inside. You'll never be on stage. If that's your dream to go outside and be an actor, and you're going to have to go outside, or to be a musician, be on stage, start with baby steps. Train yourself. Because that's what I did. From being a severely shy kid, friendly, like you said, I wasn't antisocial either. I was friendly, but I was very closed off. And there was also a lot of emotional pain in that as well. Growing up in a very up and down household where my mom had mental health issues and my dad was screaming and yelling as an Italian Argentinian. It was hot and spicy in the kitchen and sweat on everyone's brow. And my mom, Black American, part Native American, screaming. And I mean, it was like you would hear noise no matter what in my household. So I was very content around chaos. And my protective measure was to be more quiet, be more sane, be more conservative, be more like, everyone just calm down. Just calm down. It's one of my favorite things is like, let's just stay calm. I was the calm mediator. And then I got out of that situation growing up and I realized, oh, I don't have to play just that part. I can be the wild one. And of course I took it too far. You go, okay, now let's go the other way. Let's see how I'm going to be the wild child. The girl who takes off her shirt and is dancing on the table, swinging a bottle of vodka in her bra, right? I mean, I was that Hollywood party girl, and it was so much fun. And I felt like I was fun to be around, and everyone loved being around me. I was that extreme extrovert, up for anything. And then I realized that's also not me. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Awesome. So Joy, you touched on it a little bit earlier on your childhood and growing up in a little bit of a chaotic household. So tell us a little bit more about your childhood and where and sort of how you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Santa Barbara and also in Los Angeles and in New York as well. So I grew up in New York when I was 10 years old and life was kind of chaotic. My mom suffered from mental illness. There was a lot of craziness in the household, but it was also a lot of love. My parents never let me leave the house without telling me they loved me. So that was a huge influence on my life. Being able to say, I have parents who love me, and no matter what, I mean, we had a lot of craziness. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm actually writing a book on my upbringing and what led me here to the life I lead now. It's going to be inspirational. But at the end of the day, I never thought, as a kid, you think your life is normal. No matter how crazy it is, you think, I did anyways. I thought someone always has it worse than me. So I didn't grow up with this victim mentality. I grew up thinking, well, at least I have a mom and dad. Most kids don't even have dads, right? So I thought other kids were more victims, were worse off. And then now I've faced a lot of my fears and a lot of the things that I've grown up with. I've read a lot of books and talked to really great religious leaders and counselors and dealt with my past trauma. And it's a different thing. I realized I had a lot of trauma growing up. I just didn't realize it. And one of the ways that I would sort of protect myself is by going into my artistic and creative shell, by drawing, by creating, by dreaming, by imagining what my life would be like when I got older. I would sketch and I would journal every day and I'd watch comic book movies. I'd read comic books. And now we have such a onslaught of incredible creative talents and Comic-Con and festivals and speaking, places where you can go hear creative speak, and YouTube, YouTube videos where you can just at the touch of a mouse type in who you want to hear, master classes, and you can learn so much. But I didn't have all that when I was younger. So it was a lot of just me and my mind. It was me and my siblings, me and my dolls, pretending that they were my models and taking pictures of them, creating little fashions for them and pretending to do little TV interviews with them and videoing my own little sketch comedy shows with some of my friends from school. A lot of stuff I see that has made it, I guess it's my generation, us millennials, has made it onto TV. And I go, wow, I used to do that as a joke when I was a kid. And now Netflix is distributing it as a series. Wow. Yeah. I should have got on that.
So do you think the access to technology and social media and constant entertainment and whatever in your pocket, your hand, do you think that makes people more or less creative overall? Because you could sort of argue it both ways. So if you don't have access to all these things to alleviate boredom, you might be more likely to do some writing or some reading or draw some pictures. Whereas now, I think a lot of kids, they think, okay, I'm bored, so I'm just going to watch YouTube, or I'm just going to watch this or watch that. It's like, I wonder if sometimes that might stifle their creativity a little. I don't know.
You say you think creativity is stifled by technology?
I just think we live in such an overstimulated world, right? Like people kind of don't have to experience boredom anymore. There's always YouTube has infinite content. There's always, you can watch Netflix. You can, before it was like, okay, I'm bored. Like I need to do something. Oh, there's a piece of paper. Let me draw a picture. Let me write a poem. Let me
very
do something.
Good point.
Yeah. So sometimes I wonder with the younger generation who's completely growing up with this, if they'll be as creative.
That's a really good point. I don't know, because I think that our generation, the generation before us, probably thought the same thing, that movies and TV, right? Our parents and our parents' parents probably thought TV would kill creativity, right? Because they used to have only radio and they had wooden toys instead of this newfangled plastic, So I think that each generation thinks that the former generation is old fashioned and didn't know what they were talking about. And the next generation is too futuristic and doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or will grow up with a lack of fill in the blank. So I really think that the next generation is probably going to be more creative. I think it's going to be, but it's going to take the time out of it. When you look at what our parents had to go through to create something, if you had a book idea, you had to use a typewriter. And maybe it's our grandparents, but let's just say it's our parents, right? Baby boomers, let's say people in their 60s now, they had to use a typewriter to type something up on paper. Then they had to use whiteout or correctional fluid if it was wrong, right? So there was this very manual typing and erasing. And then they had to look up and use a dictionary if they had the word wrong. So this all took a lot of time. Then they had to print it all out, right? Typing it all out. Then take this to a publisher and beg them to publish their work, pitch their work. And then, only then, could they get it to the public. Maybe they could type out their own couple copies, but then they'd have to take that to a type machine or a company that would type it up and print it and then distribute it. Now that's at least a couple months process if you were quick. Nowadays, you and I can do all of that in one day, 24 hours. We can type that on Word, which will edit it for us, which we can then print out easily. We don't even have to print it out. We can upload it to iBooks via the app. We don't even have to wait for somebody to publish our stuff. We can self-publish through Amazon. We can self-publish. We don't even have to print. We don't even have to correct ourselves. We don't have to even know the definitions because we have dictionaries all embedded into our programs. Like imagine that's almost in the blink of an eye where we can create our own books and our own content. Now, what is our future generation going to be able to do? They're probably going to be able to think it almost and have it appear. It's going to take the time out of it. In the future, technology is going to be so quick and so in tune with us that it's going to be cohesive to what we want. So creative and hardworking individuals will just be better at what they do. I truly believe that. I do believe that people who wish for things but never put the hard work behind them will still be lazy in the future.
Yeah.
There's lazy people now who blame everyone, the government, their race, their parents, their gender, whatever, Trump's America, because they can't publish their own book or because they're not successful. When 50 years ago, you'd had to go through way more things to be able to publish a book.
Well, a lot of people don't really have perspective and gratitude. So people like to make a big deal about their problems or their perceived problems. People like to not take self-ownership. People like to blame other things. Like you said, blame the government, blame the system, whatever that means. The man, whoever that is, right? Just people have these people have these very general concepts of the thing that is holding them down or oppressing them. But,
that's right.
There was a time in history where that surely existed. But when people talk about some of these things today in a Western modern country, I sometimes kind of raise an eyebrow, like what exactly, like who is stopping you from doing this thing that you want to do? Because you're like in the top 1% of privileged people in the world.
That's
So,
right.
you know,
That's
so
right. If you are in a Western country today, you are in the top 1%, period.
yeah,
Even if you're homeless on the streets, if you're homeless on the streets in a Western nation, you're in the 1%.
yeah.
Because people in Darfur, people in Venezuela nowadays, people in so many other countries are dying. They're dying, and they're
Mm.
suffering and they're still trying to make it. And that means nobody should be going, oh, you're more privileged because of the tone and color of your skin, or you're more privileged because of your height, and you're more privileged.
Uh,
I don't believe in this privilege. You have privilege if you're alive today. You have living human being privilege.
yeah.
Use it.
Well, two things on that you just touched on. One, I've never seen someone who talks all this privilege stuff who is not actually in the top 1% globally. So you get people saying, talking, or you get people who are talking about the 1%. Oh, we need to do this. The
We
one,
just
like the 1%.
smash.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, do you realize you're in the 1%? And they're like, no,
They're-
what do you? And I'm like, globally, I think the
Mhm.
number is, I looked this up. I think it's $32,000. If you make more than $32,000 a year, you are officially in the top 1%.
These guys who are talking down about the people, and that's incredible statistic, by the
Yeah.
way, are usually holding a $5 latte in their hands.
Mhm.
They're wearing a $45 t-shirt.
Capitalism.
They're wearing $200 shoes. That's right, capitalism,
More
which I
capitalism.
believe in, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
works. It works. It makes the world go round. Money does make the world go round. Money used wisely, money put back into the economy, money used to create more jobs. Yes, it's a tool. Just like a toothbrush cleans your teeth, money helps clean everything in life. It is the oil in the wall, the cogs and the machinery is the oil that makes it run better.
So if you have a $1,000 smartphone, you shouldn't be tweeting down with capitalism.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Zuby. $1,000 smartphone, $300 earbuds, $200 haircut, beanie from freaking wherever, $50 beanie, $200 shoes. Like, they're wearing thousands of dollars and they got a $5 latte and they're going down with capitalism, capitalistic scum. They're keeping me down. I mean, this is the thing. The only people who are really for socialism and against capitalism are the uber rich. We're talking the billionaires and the trillionaires of this world, the billionaire people. They want socialism because it keeps the poor very poor. It keeps the poor from being able to work and create and produce to get to their level, which would be danger for them. So it's very good for dictators. It's very good for people who don't want fairness in the world, socialism. And it's also the super poor want socialism, but it's the super poor who want to remain poor, the super poor who want to blame everyone else for their poverty, who don't want to work for it, who say, no, that's not fair. You have money and I don't. I want money too. So I'm going to take your money that you worked hard for, or that your parents or grandparents worked hard for so that you could inherit. Someone else worked for that money. So, but no, I deserve it because I'm another human being, and every human being deserves other people's money. That's socialism in a nutshell. It's not working for Venezuela. It's not working for any other country that's been so. Cuba.
I'd say it's not just that it doesn't work, it's that it's led to hundreds, over 100 million people died in the 20th century as a result. It's not just that it didn't kind of work. It's like, no, it catastrophically has failed
right.
in every single. I can't think of any idea that has failed with such horrific circumstances so many times, yet people still endorse it gladly and people promote. I'm
Right.
just like, how is someone in the USA promoting socialism? I'm just like, what? Like, have you not?
It's crazy.
You don't need
It's
to be
crazy.
you don't need to be a history expert, but just take a cursory glance at every country that has embraced this and look at what
That's
happened.
right.
And it's
That's
very
right.
bizarre. We're obviously having a conservative talk here, but what's it like?
Yeah.
What's it like being a conservative musician in Hollywood? Essentially, I mean, that's not a common proposition. So
No,
what's that like? Do you have are people, obviously some people will be supporting you, but are they doing it behind the scenes? What's the criticism been like? Just how's that experience been?
You know what? It's been crazy and fun, and it's been definitely something that I enjoy actually because I get to be a bit of a rebel, and I do have to work really hard. I have to mind my P's and Q's. I have to be very extraordinary because I can't allow myself to rest on my laurels. Like for instance, I have to be extra kind to people because someone will judge me based not on the color of my skin, not on the texture of my hair, not on the curve of my body, not anything like that, but on my political affiliations,
Mm.
on my thinking. So knowing that, I come in with a smile. But I come in also strong, right? Walk softly but carry a big stick. Like 2019 is all about be kind, be courteous, but take no, because that's another thing is people will try to bully you and tell you, oh, you shouldn't think this way, or because you think this way, you are this XYZ, insert racist euphemism here, there, all, this, that, and the other. Online, it's a bloodbath. I mean,
Oh gosh.
online, oh my goodness, it's crazy. I've been called every single word you can. I've death threats, threats against my life and that of my family, rape threats. It's been insane. There's my kitty coming in. She knows it. She knows about it. She's got her own death threats. People want to kill my cat. No, I don't know about
Because
that.
you support your president.
Yeah, I don't know about killing my cat. Hopefully,
Okay.
no. Who would do that? They would only want to kill me, not the cat. No one
Oh,
would kill a cat, but a human being who supports the president, absolutely. String her up. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. But in the music industry, there's two different things. There's people who actually agree with me, and they just sort of secretly let me know, but they don't exercise their power yet.
Yeah.
Then there's the people who don't. There's three different types actually. There's people who agree with me and who secretly let me know, and we hang out behind the scenes, and they're really cool. They haven't stuck their neck out yet because they're also scared, and I don't blame them. And then there's the other people who absolutely hate what I do and probably avoid me at all costs. And I've heard around the bend that blacklists me from events and don't want me to be there and talk behind my back, but that's fine. I don't care. Bye. Bygones be bygones. Yeah, I don't need you in my life anyways. And then there's the other people who are very neutral.
Yeah.
And I tend to get along with neutral people who are like, listen, I don't care about politics. They just find it interesting that I've created this niche for myself, that I'm outspoken, that I'm bold. I 100% believe in what I do. And they respect that and respond to that as opposed to the insane fights. And those people I love. I mean, obviously, right-wing people who do agree with me, I love them. I mean, I've gotten in fights with right-wing people who try to nitpick me too. It's on every side.
Sure.
This weirdness of you have to think exactly like I do. I'm like, no, nobody should think exactly like anybody. That's gross. Think differently, but have the same values and agree to disagree and agree on certain things. Yes, that's what I love. But it's crazy. I think it would be crazy regardless. I'm just blessed because I do have a platform. I do have people who listen to me, and I have people who tell me every day in private messages and in person, thank you for standing up for life, for being proudly pro-life. Thank you for supporting our president. Thank you for being a proud American. Thank you for saying the things you do and not backing down. And that keeps me going, knowing that there is a huge silent minority or silent majority out there who are, by the mainstream standard news, said to be the minority, but they're actually a huge majority that's just silent, who are watching me and who are supporting me from afar, who are buying my album, pushing me up the charts. And I love that.
Yeah.
I'm a rebel with a cause, I would say. I'm a rebel with a cause.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I just
I
think
mean,
it.
musician, you gotta be. You gotta be a rebel.
But I think that's the funny thing, especially in the world of music and entertainment, right? Is that they put that whole agenda of diversity and people being different and people being pushed themselves. Like, it's not pushed anywhere harder than in the world of entertainment.
That's true.
But when it comes to political views and political diversity or thought diversity, suddenly it's like whoosh, right? People want different skin colors, people want different genders, people want different sexuality, people want all that stuff, which is fine. But then it's like, as soon as somebody is like expresses a somewhat conservative or libertarian viewpoint, suddenly people are like, whew. And it's funny because, again, on top of that, I mean, it's such a capitalistic it's such a capitalistic industry that's so driven by,
I know,
I guess, what you could to some degree consider quite conservative principles, that it always, in my brain, it's always just like, what's going on here? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, if a young artist is coming and is, asking for advice on, okay, how can I do this? How can I do whatever? Like the stuff you're going to tell them about self-ownership, about not waiting for handouts, about creating your own thing, building your own business. I'm like, these are pretty conservative principles. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly.
So I find
Exactly.
yeah, I just find it weird how there's that sort of schism between the meritocracy and building your own brand and creating your own hustle and entrepreneurship. And then suddenly if someone is not even a full-blown conservative, if someone just has some conservative opinions, suddenly people look at them like, ooh, there's something going on there. So
Absolutely. I would say, and
yeah.
also it's a lot of grandstanding and trying to look good. People will say, oh, yeah, I support XYZ. And they have no idea. Oh, vote for this Democrat. Like, do you even know what this Democrat stands for? Have you even looked at their policies? Hey, I'm also not someone, I'm a registered Republican for the first time in my life. I've been independent for years. I voted for Obama before. Politics is a huge deal in America and around the world, I guess. But I was never someone who's like, just vote for someone because they're Republican. But now, because the Democrats have gotten so bad, it's gotten so black and white wrong. Like, they're pushing for abortion up to 9 months.
They're pushing for baby, like actual baby
infanticide. Yeah.
Like
they're like no holds barred. That's what they want.
It's crazy to me. Like I saw people talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, okay, like they must be exaggerating or something. And then I watched like the videos of like the actual Democratic senators. I showed it to my parents.
Wow.
And they were gobsmacked. I was just like, can you believe this? Like
your Nigerian parents, they would never.
Oh
right?
my gosh. I was just like, what on earth? Like people vote for this? I was like, are people not seeing? Like, it doesn't even matter what side of that debate you're on. Right. The guy was literally like, the baby can be, oh gosh, I don't really want to go into it. It's that dark.
It's horrible.
I was just like,
it's so dark. What? It's so evil. And it's so here now. It's a post-apocalyptic nightmare that is our current time. And this is where the Democrats have gone. They hate our president so much. They hate values so much that they are pushing for the absolute extremism. Extremism. Like they used to be more moderate. It used to be like, oh, okay, this issue, that issue. But now it's, oh, we're going to push for abortions up to 9 months. And even after the baby is born, we're going to push for murdering the child because women's right to choose, my body, my choice. What we've been saying on the pro-life side for years, with science backs us up, is that it's not your body. So it's not your choice. Your choice ends at your body. I can tattoo my body. I can feed my body what I want. But as soon as I'm carrying another body inside my body, as biological women do, it ends there. My rights don't keep going over this other being's body. Like I can't then go, well, I can take heroin because my body, my choice. You have a baby inside you. You have a body. You can't just decide that you don't and want to murder it. Just because you say it doesn't mean it's so. Now that was the craziness, but now it's even when the body's outside your body, you still can kill it. It's insane. So this is the extreme left. And on one good thing that's coming out of this is that more people are waking up in America, more Latinos, more Black Americans are going, oh my gosh, white Americans too. This is crazy. This is crazy time. Like I've been a lifelong Democrat and I'm not voting Democrat anymore because this is crazy talk. And this is not what I believe in. And they're waking up. Their party's been pushing this for centuries, literally, but now they're starting to actually see it because it's out in the open.
I'm in the UK and I'm seeing it. I'm just kind of like, how can these people and other people think these are the inverted commas good guys? So even if somebody doesn't like Trump, even if someone doesn't like Republicans or whatever, I'm like, how can you like point me at something that the red team has done that is remotely
comparable to infanticide, to murdering babies?
I'm like, that is like the worst. That's literally the worst thing. That's the worst crime that exists. Not even just like a human, like a bait, like an innocent child.
They didn't even start with old people like that or homeless people. Like they were like, let's just kill. Like here's a way we can get rid of our homeless population. Let's just take a gun and shoot all the homeless people, right? Like if they started with that would still be more palpable than let's just start killing innocent babies. Like while they're in the womb, while they're fully formed, let's start there. Like you got to be pretty sick and twisted to say that's where you start the fight.
Yeah.
for
Well,
quote unquote equal rights.
I have
I
to
mean,
say I completely agree with you on this because I don't shift on this one. I'm quite unwavering in this
I'm
because
glad. I'm
yeah,
glad,
on
Zuby.
this one I'm
You have
like
a heart.
yeah, I'm like
You're a human being with a heart.
yeah, and so
Who
is
knew?
and so is a baby, you know.
That's
Um,
right.
like my position's not that complex. Like people, I'm like it's not. I'm happy to debate a lot of things.
Yeah.
If someone thinks taxes should be higher and I think they should be lower, like okay, you know, we can debate this one. If you're like I think it should be legal to kill people and I'm like no, then
That's
you know
undebatable. Yeah.
you're not gonna have the moral high ground on this one. You know what I mean? I'm
No,
just like
exactly. It goes
no.
right up there with slavery and, drugging people against their will. I mean, it's right up there.
Yeah.
Murdering people. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of those things that, no, we're
It's
not
just,
gonna let that.
just like
I
no,
don't think so.
like
Not to,
I have to draw some
not today,
lines.
Satan. Yeah,
I have to draw some
exactly.
lines. So, but before we wrap this up, I did want to ask. So I think it's interesting that you've been a very vocal Trump supporter for a couple of years now,
Yes.
and there are very few prominent voices, particularly in the world of entertainment, especially young voices. In fact, you're one of the only ones, in fact,
Mhm.
that I can think of. So what is it that led you to becoming such a keen supporter of Donald Trump to the point of wearing the Make America Great Again dress and creating a song of the same title?
It's really what he stands for and what he says. He doesn't back down. He speaks a lot like my dad. And my dad used to be very forthright and say, listen, if you're in this country, you should speak the language. You should speak English so everybody can get along. And people, oh, dad, come on, relax. Trump says the same thing. If you're in this country, you should speak the cultural language. You should be a part of the culture. If you're in America, you should be American. Like if I go to Britain, I should be British, right? I mean, I should learn what slang means in Britain. I should eat British foods. I mean, I'm not saying you need to give up your culture, but you need to at least understand and assimilate.
Mm,
And that's not a racist argument. A lot of people say, oh, it's racist. No. Any country you go to, if I go to Sweden, I'm going to assimilate into Sweden. I'm still going to be American Joy Villa, but if I want to get Swedish citizenship, I'm going to learn to speak Swedish. I mean, they all speak English over there, but still, I'm going to learn to speak Swedish. I'm going to learn how to be Swedish and what's culturally acceptable and what's not. And that's something that is totally that was the first thing I noticed growing up is that suddenly we're expanding our schools to make way for English as a second language, but we don't teach them English.
mm,
Growing up in California, it wasn't English as a second language was supposed to be teaching kids that come from Mexico, families that come from other countries, mostly Mexico because it's right there, how to speak English. But instead, it was just funded schools, taxpayer funded schools where teachers speak Spanish to kids all day and the kids don't learn English. They just speak Spanish. I know because I try to talk to those kids. They never learned English in the, 8 years of school.
mm,
And to me, I'm like, is this what your parents came to this country for? They worked hard so that you could have a life, so that you would not be, throwing it by the wayside. So that's one thing. It's just a cultural thing for any color, any type of person, any country you come
mhm,
from. If it's a white country, if you come from France, don't come in here expecting us to speak French for you and bend over backwards to find you a croissant. No, learn English, American ways. You can have your culture and still assimilate. That's what my ancestors did. I mean, that's what many people did. That's how you make it. That's how you make a way. It's what many countries have taught you,
mm,
to be able to be a functioning citizen. Like we're not a country made up of immigrants. We're actually a country made up of citizens. Wherever these citizens immigrated from, they came here to become citizens.
mm,
So building the wall, making sure that our citizens are protected, our families are protected, and that people who do come here legally are protected is huge. That's a huge thing. He's the first president to actually say he's going to do it. And I mean, that's why I'm pushing so hard, and many other Trump supporters are pushing him so hard on it, because many other people have said it. Past 15 years, all kinds of presidents have talked about it. Obama talked about increasing border security. Even
yeah.
Clinton talked about increasing border security. Bush, everybody. But he's the first one who's actually saying, I'm going to do this, and we'll do it. So these kind of things, putting American values first, saying, listen, we're a country. We can be nationalistic. We're not going to go the way of Europe, which is, no offense to Europeans, because my husband's European and I know you're European. But, being in this European Union has destroyed countries. It's not good to think in this globalistic. Yes, we are a globalized society with the internet. We travel. I do believe in traveling and reaching people across nations, but that's not the same as erasing borders and erasing national pride in your country. Like, you should have a strong dollar of your own nation. You should have a strong economy of your own nation. Your citizens should, of course, British citizens should get more help and care and more benefits than me as an American when I come to the UK. I shouldn't be automatically go, hey, I'm here. And let's say I sneak across, which is almost impossible in the UK. It's very hard. I don't know. I tried it. No,
You got to be a good swimmer.
Yeah, you gotta be a really good swimmer. I mean, they grill me when I come to the UK. They're like, so what's your business here? So what you gonna do? How long are you gonna stay here? I'm like, listen, I'm American. I don't want to stay in this country, okay? I'm in and out. Don't worry about it. I'm like, damn, like I'm not trying to stay here. But they grill people. Like Australia, they grill you. Their border patrol is hardcore, and they have to be, because they're a westernized economy, a Western country, civilization, just like the UK is, just like most of Europe is. And everybody wants to go there. And it works because they're hard on their borders. They're hard on immigration. America lets in 1 million immigrants a year, which I fully support. Should we let in more? Maybe. I don't think we should stop letting people in at all. I don't think we should close our borders, but we need to make sure that legal citizens get in and get preferential treatment over illegal aliens.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. If I go across the border to Mexico, I shouldn't be able to do that illegally and then claim benefits and get welfare.
Why is that issue so controversial? I mean, that sounds pretty common sense to me, regardless of where someone sits, unless they just don't believe countries should exist. Then,
it's just crazy, right?
Which some people do, but sure. I don't see why what you've just said there. It seems like from a distance. Again, I see from a distance because I'm in the UK, but it seems like an extremely contentious, controversial issue and position, and I don't understand that people are saying
the reason for it, Zuby, is that the Democrats and people who want to push socialism and want to get illegal votes, are pushing it.
Actually, yeah,
because that's more voters. The more illegals that come in, the more people will vote for them, because they say, look at brown people, black people, we're going to promise you everything, give you nothing in fine print. They give nothing. I mean, Democratic stronghold cities like Chicago are just destroyed, right? I mean, we have the most atrocious laws, and the people who are making it in those places are capitalistic business owners of all colors who make it out alive. Everybody else is in dire need of help. We have people who are on welfare, Black Americans who are on welfare, generations of welfare, because no one's gone in and said, it's not for you. You need, here's a small business loan. Here's an opportunity, colleges, education. Let's get these gangs out of here. Let's get these liquor stores and these Planned Parenthoods out of your city. Let's start cleaning up this area. Let's put in some yoga studios in the ghetto. Why is it always in these other pampered places? There's so much we could do, even that I think liberals could work on, but no, they would rather take the lazy way out, which is scare tactics. Oh, Trump is going to hang a noose and kill every Black American and deport all the Mexicans and kill all the gays, right? Like, that's the Democratic.
I don't even know where these things come from. Like, it's weird how people parrot them and repeat them.
They're planted.
Like,
there's stories that are planted.
People just say stuff, and I'm just like, where on earth did you get that from? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't get it. Like, I've never heard Donald Trump say a bad thing about Black people ever.
Ever.
Like, and that's the thing. And people, he hates Black people. He wants that. And I'm just like,
where?
Like,
got the NAACP award.
It's just strange.
Buddying around with all the Black rappers, and they were all naming songs after him. Where when he made sure that his clubs were open to Blacks and Jews against what the areas wanted. Where when he hired Black workers to build his buildings, like made sure it was diversified. Like, where was he racist when his daughter converted to traditional Judaism? Is that when he was a Nazi? Like, please, when he invited all the historical Black colleges and universities into the White House his first couple months in presidency and made sure to put millions of dollars of funding into Black education. Is that when he was a racist?
It is weird. I don't get it.
If it made sense, I would be like, oh, okay, yeah. There's a few times.
Yeah, no.
They've yet to find any instance, any proof of where he's actually exhibited this so-called mainstream racism.
I mean, if someone says that they find some of his statements offensive, or they don't like when he said this, or they don't like that, or they don't agree with that policy, I'm like, okay, this is based in reality, and this is an opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get that. But it's
Yeah.
when people just go to this extreme of notion that he's some sort of like grand wizard of like, the KKK, and he wants to like purge ethnic minorities and gay people. The gay people one, I don't even get. Isn't he the first president who supported gay marriage prior to taking the presidency?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, what's
he even had a gay flag up on stage. Gays for Trump is huge.
I'm just like, what has he ever done or said against gay people? That's the thing. Like, people just say stuff, and I'm like, based on what? Like, if you can show me something, I might agree with you, but I don't.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Exactly, Zuby. This is the sad and tragic fact: is people just say stuff and then people just believe stuff without even looking it up, they just trust the news, and that's why he started the fake news thing, because it is fake news. Now it's become a thing where people don't trust the news as much. I think people are waking up. Alternative media sources like your podcast, like other people who are doing this, are waking people up. But there's also the mainstream media, which is pushing that down and trying to fight it and fight against him. And so there's this weird war. It's like a civil war for thought happening right now. It's a culture war. We are at war with culture. Is culture going to say it's okay to murder babies at 9 months old? Is culture going to say it's okay to just make up lies against someone just because they're a white president who speaks like a colorful New Yorker? And you don't like them, they hurt your feelings, so therefore they're racist. Like, is culture going to flip? Now we're at this precipice where we can take it back and we can fight against it. We can laugh at it. But it does take conservatives, independents, free thinkers, heck, even liberals. I don't care what you identify as, but just be a free thinker. Don't go with the sheep. Just step out and question these news sources and say, well, wait, is that really what he said? Like, look it up for yourself. I don't even believe any story until I wait a good 48 hours. I'm like, before I even tweet about anything, because I'm like, comes out and I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then of course you find out it's all baloney, most of it.
It really is. It's very
Public
bizarre.
outrage for nothing.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre.
It
Awesome,
is.
Joy. I know we've been going for a while, and I know you've got other stuff you need to get to today. So before we jump off, what have you got in store, and where can people find you online?
You can find me at joyvilla.com, my website. I have my music and links on there, blog, and my Periscope feeds as well. They're not on my website, but you can go to Periscope and Twitter, which I do a lot of feeds about stuff like this. I just talk out my ass. People love it. It's at joy_villa, very unfiltered, very fun. At joy_villa on Twitter, at Joy Villa Music on Facebook, at Joy Villa on Instagram. Just Google Joy Villa. Click on those links. Don't read what the media say about me, though. Well, maybe some of it's true. I should say everything you read about me is true. There was somebody who said, was that Truman Capote or somebody who said, everything you've heard about me is true, which I think is awesome, because then you never get triggered by anybody else's triggering of you. But yeah, if straight from the horse's mouth, you can go to joyvilla.com. And I'm promoting my album Home Sweet Home, which you can find on iTunes, Amazon, and wherever fine music is sold. Home Sweet Home.
Awesome. Joy Villa, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Zuby. This has been so much fun.
Awesome. Have a wonderful day.
Too.
Bye-bye.
I am the man, sick with the slang, sick and I'm destined for fame.